Yo, what's up, everybody? It's Pikel with League of Items, and today we're gonna go through some upsets. I want to look at some of these drafts and see why these teams were able to pick up upsets when they were able to do it. It's going to tell us a lot about the meta that we're in right now, and it's going to tell us where teams are kind of misevaluating these drafts, or misevaluating, is that a word? So I'm not. I might skip past some matches that you think are upsets, but that's kind of just your problem. So Sunning against Invictus, I think either team should be able to win there. FPX is better than Rogue Warriors, that's fine. Rare Adams better than OMG, although OMG just had a good victory, so maybe we have to revisit that at some point in the future to see how close they really are. BLG and EDG, I think that my opinion on this match is different than most people, so let's just take a look at the first game. Pretty generic draft. We had a Rumble draft. They had Karma. So generally in these kinds of drafts, you see the blue side team picking Rumble, and then the red side team picking Karma away from Rumble. They're not picking it away from Rumble, picking it in order to mitigate some of Rumble's power. But in this draft, they were able to get both. Jace, very strong champion. A lot of speed ups. We have a Jace speed up, we have a Senna speed up, and we have Karma speed up. That's going to help out Rumble and Set a lot. I don't like this kind of draft for BLG personally. When Zika is on something like Set, that's just a stylistic thing in my opinion. But that's what they went with, and they ended up winning that game. So it's a pretty generic draft overall. Like, these are all champions that we expect to see in this meta. So that's fine. Then they gave away the Rumble. And then in game 3, they gave away Rumble again. So both sides were giving away Rumble a lot. Pretty generic drafts in general. I don't think that Nocturne jungle is the best right now. That's not something that I would play personally or pick for my team. But that's basically it. Then we have Ultra Prime picking up a win over FPX. This is a surprising draft, so I wonder who they first picked. Picks and bans. So okay. So first pick Set. That's weird. I don't think that's a good idea. Then they went Rumble Kaisa against Lilia Jace. So in this spot, I think we can kind of make the argument that FPX was willing to go Set, knowing they would pick Rumble, and then thinking that Lilia is a good counter. Lilia's been played a surprising amount. I don't think she's a very good champion, and I know a lot of people agree with me on that. They also had a... Oh. Wait a second. Okay, I had that backwards. So FPX left open Rumble, thinking that Ultra Prime might pick it. Instead, Ultra Prime takes away Set. Then we have the Rumble Kaisas were picked. Then we had the Lilia come in. So this was Ultra Prime's response. So that's a lot more impressive, really, because that means that they had this prepared. So they went Lilia, Jace, Set. I could understand why the Jace is pretty good against Rumble, because again, you're getting another speed up. I've been meaning to try Jace jungle again. That's always a fun. It's never broken, but it's always fun, in my opinion. LNG beating V5, that's fine. JDG beating TT, that's fine. Rare Adam and LGD. So this is a match that I was very high on LGD, because I thought that they had good chances to surprise people this split, and they kind of have, and they started off really well. So again, we had Rumble falling to red side. Rare Adam's idea was to play Diana into the Rumble, which is something we've seen multiple times, so that must be something that's working out in scrims. So Diana is a champion that theoretically is strong against Rumble. Otherwise, it's a pretty generic draft. We have the Jace in an advantageous matchup against Gnar. Shadow goes really well with Jace and Ezreal. Xie had an insane game in this game. And then this game, they probably should have won as well. So this is another good draft to take a look at. I guess they prioritized the Renekton. 1, 2. They didn't prioritize Renekton. So Ezreal first pick overall for Kramer, which makes a lot of sense. And you had Rare Adam get the Viego. Viego was a flex for them, but they also picked the Rumble. So Fofo played it. I think they had Viego 2 or 3 times in this match. Just once. Rare Adam played it in their previous match? Yes. Okay. That's basically it. The LGD match, I mean, they kind of just threw away this game. Kramer on Ezreal shifted forward, and then the last game they just lost. So I think this should have been an actual just series win for LGD, but they ended up losing. LNG against BLG. So this isn't really an upset, but I was on the other side of it. So Rumble was banned out this time. They still went with the Diana. So they have a high priority on Diana. This doesn't make much sense because you really want more protection for Kog'Maw. This is pretty straightforward. LeBlanc coming back is pretty interesting. Echo being played is pretty interesting. Then game 3, Rise. Rise Jinx, and you're going to outscale this team most of the time, I think. Ale also had a very good game on Camille here. He's played Camille several times, which is a very strong champion. World Elite and Sunning, it's kind of what we expect. They're both good teams, in my opinion. JDG against Top Esports. This was considered an upset by a lot of people, but I like JDG a lot. I have a very high opinion of JDG. They played a Nidalee draft, so this is a very early game draft. You have Renekton as an early game champion, Nidalee early game champion, and then the Jhin, which is an early game champion. So that's fine. And then same thing again, basically. They didn't get the Renekton this time, but still a very good poke composition. Then you have the long range engage from Ornn and Hook City. And then that's it. There's no more upsets there. OMG against Invictus. So this was a big upset. So Rumble power pick. Bot lane didn't play very well this game. Neither did Rookie. But not a lot of champions that are out of the ordinary. The Akali coming back in is good. Seeing Akali on a Cream on Akali is a good thing because that means that they trust him to actually carry games, which is interesting. This game, we got a good Diana game. So Diana has a much higher... People think that Diana is better across the world. She's been getting... I thought she got nerfed most recently, but I guess she just has a good spot in this meta still. She can engage. She has a good ultimate. In an Enchanter meta, I think there's also additional benefits. I know that CLG ran Diana Galio the other day, which was very cool. We'll get to that game later. Xin Zhao is another good champion. Leon on Gwen. That one kind of fell flat, but EDG's is the better team. That was kind of expected. Ultra Prime and Rogue Warriors, you're not going to learn a lot from this because they're both lower level teams, in my opinion. I guess Hacker is just a fan of Lilia. They played it against the Rumble again, which forced Rogue Warriors to ban it in the last game, which is very interesting. That gives over a first pick Rumble to them, I'm assuming. LNG against JDG. So this was another surprising one. This is an amazing team composition from LNG. So I think that LNG has done a very good job drafting so far, and there's not a lot you can kind of do to counter it. So let's see what happened. So they did take the Rumble first overall. So the fact that they think Diana is a good matchup in a Rumble means giving away Rumble is fine. Then you take the Diana, which is very strong. Well, not a very strong champion. Diana's a good champion, and they think that Diana is a good matchup against Rumble, so I totally understand why they would do that. Varus is good because it's going to give you additional utility from the bot lane and engage with his ultimate. JDG went with Jhin Lucian. I hate Jhin. I think Jin's a bad champion in general, but it's a very popular champion because it helps win the early game. Then we had a Camille locked in. The Camille's an interesting choice here because they it's not the best blind pick. I'm pretty sure there are good counters to it. I think GP is good against it, so they banned that out. And they got rid of the Ornn. I thought I heard somebody. Leona coming in for additional engage. Volibear is not a very good champion in the top lane, which is where they planned on putting him. And it's not good against Camille either, so this was just a bad draft overall. And then Gragas support, not a good support in my opinion. And then Yasuo. So this is really where the team composition comes together, is the Yasuo pick. So Yasuo plus Diana is an insane combination. Just very strong combination. Then we had, in the last game, we had another. So we went early game team composition again. This is where you see Jin's big problems, right? So you can't really run an enchanter support with a champion like Jin, in my opinion. Like, if you snowball extremely hard in the early game, yes, you're going to be good, but if you lose the early game, you're not going to have enough damage with this team composition. Ornn's not doing a lot of damage. Viego's not doing a lot of damage. He's more of a playmaker that, like, in an advantageous team fight, like, yes, he can look good, but that's just really not Viego's job. Viego's job is to make crazy plays. It's not really a consistent damage source. Karma's not doing a lot of damage, especially when she has Shirelia's and Redemption, Staff of Flowing Water. Leona's not doing a lot of damage. Jin's not doing a lot of damage. So this is just a terrible draft by JDG, so it looks like they had two really bad drafts against LNG. But at the same time, LNG had a good draft, so you need to give them some credit. LGD against BLG, so this is another spot where I thought LGD was live, and they were, but they kind of just gave the series away. Pretty generic draft. Top Esports winning, not a surprise. And then we get another LNG win, which is pretty surprising. So Duanby pulled out the Kled mid, which is very good. He's one of the only players that plays it, but he is an incredible player. So, I mean, if other people played as well as him, I'm sure they would try to figure out how to do that. It's a stylistic thing. He's the primary engage when that happens. This game, a lot of power picks. Looks like somebody probably threw this game away. I'm assuming it was FPX. Then we have another draft where most of these champions are expected. The Lulu mid is interesting against Silas. I'm not sure if you really win that matchup. I think they may have lane swapped in this game too, because I think people are playing Lulu into Gwen. And then Nocturne jungle loses again, so people should kind of get the hint on that one. OMG beating RNG is pretty surprising. This is an okay team composition. It's not really generic, but it's a pretty good team composition. Krima and Kiana is interesting. I don't think this is really a draft issue. Maybe putting Cryan on Galio is not the best idea, because if you lose the early game here and they're able to continuously attack the Jinx, then maybe she just can never get big enough to carry team fights. You're also kind of inviting OMG to engage onto your team. You have a huge engage potential from Kiana, Leona, Rumble, and Nocturne, so that's pretty scary. You have disengage with Lee Sin, but still not easy to play against. Same thing with Galio, same thing with Thresh. Game 2, another pretty normal draft that RNG managed to win. And then game 3, very similar to game 1, just with less scaling. Although the Ezreal is pretty good here because it's easier for Ezreal to kind of peel for himself. But good job by OMG. So OMG has had some pretty good matches. LNG has had some pretty good matches. Maybe I've got to take them more seriously. I think those were the last games from China. Oh no, we have more games. Nice. So these were from today. We had a 2-0, 2-0, 2-0, so no games to go over for that. So now let's take a look at the LCK. Fred Brion Live Sandbags don't care. T1 Hanma Life don't care. KT Rolster Nongshim don't care. Because this is close enough. DRX Genji. So DRX managed to take a game off of them. Pretty generic draft. Just PO6 a good jungler. We know that. This is interesting. That means they expect Bao to be able to carry against Genji, which is pretty surprising. A Freak of Freaks and Fred Brion is close enough. Dalmon and T1 is close enough. This is also close enough. This is interesting. So I don't know what happened with Ghost, but Ghost signed an extension like a week ago, and then he's been benched for the past 2 matches. Doran on Lee Sin. So this is just another straightforward draft, giving away the Rumble. Maybe that's the problem here. But it is just a normal draft. And then here, the Rumble got banned out. And this is just another normal draft. This... I don't really see anything wrong with this draft. They just, I'm guessing, got steamrolled in the early game. A Freak of Freaks against DRX. Whatever. Nongshim, DRX. I expect Nongshim to win. KT against Genji. Let's see. Another straightforward draft. So KT's playing it straightforward. They're not really creating advantages through, weird picks or anything like that. They're just kind of agreeing to play how everyone else is playing. Live Sandbox against Hanma Life is interesting. Putting Chovy on Galio is stupid. Ezreal Yumi. We saw that somewhere else too. That's very interesting. Pretty normal draft. Interesting that they got a Vayne pick in. So they probably were able to pick Vayne because Yumi was locked in 4th. Did they go as Yumi? Like instantly? They went last pick Yumi. They went Yumi into Vayne. That seems like a big mistake. Because you really need to be able to punish Vayne early on. In late game, Yumi's not going to really help you do anything dealing with the Vayne. I'm assuming Vayne just got to the point where she can carry. That's fine. And then this is a more generic draft. Difficult to engage with this team composition. This probably lacks good engage overall. Like, yes, you can equalizer, but that's not really going to help the rest of the team get in. Again, you're inviting pressure from the other team, which is generally a mistake. Another huge Diana game. So Diana against Rumble is something that you should expect to see for the rest of the season. This is important because this shows they're willing to play Diana against Udyr as well. So it's interesting because this is where you can often get into a lot of trouble, is when you stop thinking about the jungle matchups and you just start thinking about which junglers are good, because I could see Udyr Diana being a big problem. Diana doesn't have enough consistent damage to deal with Udyr because he just gets too tanky, I think. I don't like this with Kog'Maw. I mean, Set I can think would go okay with Kog'Maw, and then Lee Sin could be okay with Kog'Maw because he has the disengage ability. But I think the Diana is just out of place here. And then we have Damwon winning, and then we have KT, Afrika, which is fine. This is another one that's pretty generic. Koglulu. This is very interesting that these teams are playing dive-heavy compositions with the Kog'Maw. I don't know how consistent that could be, but it worked. Misfits Vitality is a pretty close match. That's a close match. That's a close match. This is an upset. So we got a Karthus game. This is unique. Flashless Karthus. This is the cool stuff you want to see out of Fnatic with Bwipo going into the jungle. This is a straightforward draft from Rogue. Fnatic had a response in the form of Karthus. So why would Karthus would be good against Rumble because you can get a free level 6. You don't have to worry about Rumble coming into your jungle and invading. You just kind of assume that Karthus is going to be able to deal with potential early game hiccups and then outscale. But the game ended fast enough where Fnatic must have gotten an early game lead somehow. That's interesting. And these are the games from yesterday. So we had Mad Lions losing to XL. I don't really have a problem with this draft. You have 2 enchanters for the Hecarim to give him speed ups, which is good. XL just won through the bot lane. Dan got kind of huge. Lulu plus Xin Zhao is pretty good in my opinion. Because again, it's just enchanters on these bruiser type champions, gives them enough effective health to basically operate as tanks. He also had Sterix Gauge, Gore Drinker, Thornmail. So those are always pretty interesting team compositions. I think those are good combinations right now. You basically have teams either going in towards enchanters or towards assassins. That seems to be the choice that most teams are making. This game was very close. There was a good chance for Misfits to win this match. This is a pretty straightforward draft. These are all champions we expect to see. Syndra less often. We don't see Syndra as often nowadays. Syndra against Nocturne. Maybe that's something they wanted where Nocturne's coming and you can try to hit him away. With Rogue, you have a very... I could see this draft being bad in a lot of situations because it's tough to have consistent engages. Like when teams are playing very passive from the fear of Nocturne ultimate and the fear of a Fiddlesticks ultimate, I guess you would have to trust that you can get some like tower dives and stuff like that. Maybe that's what they were kind of looking for. Because if you force the team under their own tower and then you have Morgana plus Nocturne and Fiddlesticks, I guess that could work. I don't know if that's what their intention was though. Then we have another pretty straightforward draft here. Like these are all champions that you are not surprised are picked, except for maybe the Callista. Big game out of the Callista. A few teams have played it. Is Callista like a Ezreal response? I don't really remember. And then G2 against Astralis, which is fine. In the LEC and the LCS, I mean, they kind of take their cues from the LPL and LCK anyways, so I think it's more important to look at those leagues. But we'll keep looking here. TSM with the upset. Slight upset. Dig with an upset. That was close enough. Golden Guardians with the upset. This game came down to Zoe. Pretty good draft by both teams, I think. This was just a well-played game by Golden Guardians. I don't see that happening very often. 100 Thieves against Immortals. They gave away the Rumble with the intention of picking the Karma into it. This is when everyone was freaking out about Abadage, your new franchise player, being on Karma, which is understandable. But they liked this draft, I'm sure, so I can't be too critical. And then FlyQuest against CLG. They gave away Gwen and Viego. That was so funny to me. And they pulled out the Karthus, so they were the first team to pull out the Karthus, not not Fnatic. I think Dignitas also did it. TSMEG, 100 Thieves, C9. So this is a slight underdog in 100 Thieves against Cloud9. My foot's falling asleep. Xinjiao Karma seems to be a huge priority for 100 Thieves. Xinjiao Karma. FlyQuest with the upset over Evil Geniuses. Evil Geniuses had the Rumble. They picked away the Karma. Very close game, apparently. Oh, this was that super late game. Once you get to the super late game, I mean, the draft is less important because there are so many things that could have gone one way or the other in the early game that would have made it look very different. Interesting. That was an interesting game. C9 Team Liquid, that's what you expect. TSM, the win is what you expect. And then that's what you expect. Although that one's close enough where it doesn't even really matter if you are looking to learn about League of Legends, because you're like those teams aren't who you want to take lessons away from generally, unless they upset a good team. 100 Thieves against TSM. This Gragas top lane was horrible. I mean, I don't know why they did that. They did it in the playoffs last year too, and it just got steamrolled. EG, CLG, C9, 100 Thieves. We have an upset here. Generic draft. You get the Cog Lulu. You can't really do anything there if you're TSM. It's not like they had a horrible draft. They just got dominated early, I'm guessing. Team Liquid and Evil Geniuses, a 52-minute game. Pretty straightforward draft from both teams. A lot of champions that you expect to see. Ezreal's very good. The Aatrox is unique. And that was a good game from him as well. C9, GG. Pretty straightforward draft. And those are the results we expect. Then we had an upset. I think we've seen a lot of Xinjiao and Diana upsets. Big game out of Ignar. Gotta love Ignar. FlyQuest Team Liquid, TSM. Golden Guardians Dig. Another good Diana game. This game was really fun to watch. If you have time to watch this one, I'd watch that. And then this is really the team composition that made me want to make this video. So CLG played Vi, which is very unique. So let's see how that draft went. Okay, so first pick Lee Sin, whatever. Callista Galio is interesting. Then you get Rumble Varus. It's fine. Set is they probably picked Set to pick it away from 100 Thieves because they didn't want them to have the Rumble Set combination. Karma was already banned out because they know that Abadage loves Karma. Then they banned out Diana because Diana Galio is good. They banned out Xinjiao because Xinjiao Galio, I'm sure, is very good as well. But then they have the Vi ready to go. So that's very interesting. That's really cool. I like how they did this, and then they had the flexibility here. So once you lock in Callista Galio. Galio can go mid or support. Set can go top mid or support, really. Once you lock in the Vi, that means that Set is going to be top mid or support. And Galio could be mid or support still. So then with their 5th pick, they could either pick a top laner or a support. And they go with Rakan, which is a good follow-up engage with Vi, good follow-up engage with Set, good follow-up engage with Galio. Gives Callista a lot of space. So it was a very good draft by CLG. That's kind of the sort of CLG we were hoping to see. And it took them a while to get there, but eventually they picked up their best win. Or was it their first win of the split? And their best win of the split, probably. So, like I said, the reason I want to make that video is to look at how some of these underdog teams are able to create their wins. And for the most part, it's been pretty straightforward drafting. Or like the favorite team giving away really good champions. Just not out of disrespect, but like I don't know why else you would really do it. It just, you're making the game more difficult for yourself. That's really the significance of drafting, is trying to create a good game state for your team. And if you're giving away extremely strong champions to the enemy team or drafting suboptimally, you open the door for an upset. And we got some upsets. So that's basically it in this video. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you later.